Good morning. Alright, so I think I'm up to about maybe the fourth podcast, who would know? Alright, and here I am now. Where am I? I'm at Fisherman's Bay in Port Stephens. Beautiful spot. Oh, in a minute I'll take the camera out and show you. Just a lovely, lovely spot. So I've been living in my van for a couple months now. I've been on the road for about 3-4 months now. Yeah, gee, you learn a lot. I can't overemphasize the difference when you let go of time frame. When you let go of time frame and expectations, a very, very tricky thing to do while you're still living a everyday life and paying bills, because you still got to get to work and you still got to meet all these obligations. But what I've discovered is, without any time frame, when things go wrong, like a few days back, my starter motor wouldn't start. It was time to go and pick my son up from Brisbane after his operation, and my car wouldn't start. I was right out near Nimbin. So, in the old days when time ruled me, even though at that moment time wasn't so crucial, I would have freaked out. I would have stressed. I would have probably not got angry, but probably just found it all a bit much. Whereas what I was able to do was to go, okay, I can't fix this. I need someone to fix it. Okay, I'll ring the RACQ and get them to diagnose the problem. Okay, they diagnose the problem. All right, now I need to get someone to come out to me because I was quite remote. And so I rang up a mobile mechanic and he organised to come out 3 days later. And so I accepted that for whatever reason, I wasn't leaving at that moment in time. Now my cognitive human brain could have then run with it and said, okay, well, why is this happening? There's a meaning in this. And I'm starting to wonder whether that's purely there for our own, like Pete says, our own ego masturbation. Maybe it doesn't even matter why that happened, but it's the acceptance and the knowing that you're meant to be there where you are at that moment in time, and that's just how it goes. And so I just, in the end, because my mind was so clear and I wasn't stressed, I realised that with the RACQ I got car hire. So all I did was hire a car and go and pick up my son and bring him to where I was until the car was to get fixed. So it wasn't tricky at all, really. It was quite an adventure, because I ended up getting to hitchhike in the Nimbin Hills around that area, which was into Lismore, which was fun in itself. Like if anyone's ever hitched when they were younger, it's a great way to meet people, local people. First coffee of the morning, very important. Yeah, and so, taking time out of my life has made a massive difference. Expectations, so I spend a bit of time visiting people and a bit of time with myself, or with Coco, of course, and just, going down the rabbit hole. And so, this takes a lot of balancing, because you have your everyday things you still need to do to maintain the spiritual pilgrimage. And so, yeah, it's an interesting journey in expectations, because you get to people's houses and they've got their everyday life happening, which is great. It's beautiful to see them in their everyday life living, just real people. And that's just been lovely to go in and share their moments and their children and those times together, which has just been so lovely. Yeah, I suppose I don't really have many expectations. I'm quite complete within myself, and so. But as far as teachings go, what happens when we have expectations is that we want things to present a certain way, and yet I theorise that maybe everything is written perfectly, exactly how it's meant to happen, and that if we can learn how to stay out of the way of what's already been written, life wouldn't be so challenging and tricky. And so letting go of time and letting go of expectations and learning to observe more and sit back and watch it unravel and present itself, it changes everything. It just takes so much stress out of the equation, that makes life so much more I wouldn't say enjoyable, because it doesn't have to be enjoyable all the time. Life is life, it's good, bad and ugly. But it makes it more doable. There you go, doable. Doable's the word. So yeah, removal of time, checking your expectations. What's the other thing? I suppose everyday routines have helped. Meditating every day, that makes such a difference. I like to do the 108 breath meditation. It's only a short meditation. And so what I do is I tend to meditate in the same position each day after my morning cup of tea. By having a routine, I'm more likely to do it because my body goes to do it because it's part of its program. And so I meditate, I count my breath in and out as one, and I keep counting till I get to 108. And I find that just slows everything down. If my mind is very monkey mind that morning, then it might take a bit longer and a bit more challenging. Then other days I'll just go straight into trance. And I can tell a lot about the energy where I am to how easy it is to fall into the trance of the meditation. So I really enjoy that meditation. Another nice meditation is just to sit and observe. I learnt recently through a podcast that people's eyes remain strong for longer when they spend a lot of time looking out at nature. And so what they said, the scientists were saying, is that as they're looking further into the distance at nature, it strengthens their eye muscles to be able to move back and forth. And so I find it a meditation in itself, just, looking at nature and observing the trees, the birds, the insects. Right now where I am now, the ocean. It's just like, it is. It's living a meditation. Anything else to share? The astrology, far out. The astrology has been a bit hectic. And from what the astrologers say, it will continue to be hectic until about the 21st of October. So it's very easy to react right now, very easy to project. But it's about learning to catch yourself before you do and look at what it is for you. So if you're projecting at that person and saying blah, 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 blah about them, there's something in it for you, because otherwise you wouldn't bother. It wouldn't catch your interest. I always like to tell the story about like I grew, you've got this chick who grew up with lots of brothers picking their nose. And so she was used to it. It was no drama. But then another chick came along and she had no brothers and wasn't used to it. And so she kept on trying to stop everyone picking their nose. And yet one of them didn't bother, wasn't reactive to them, and the other one was. And they were in the same situation. How do you want to be? Do you want to be reactive and stop everyone doing everything so you don't react? Or do you want to take ownership and go, all right, well, I choose not to react anymore. Yeah, they're picking their nose. All right, well, I need to become more familiar with this. I better go and hang out with people that pick their nose, and then I won't be so reactive. I'll desensitise myself. Well, what is it that's getting me here? Oh, Mum and Dad always said that you have to be clean. Oh, they're not clean. Oh, that means I'm not clean because I'm hanging out with them. Oh, fuck, I've got to change that. So just watch your projections, because whatever you're picking on someone else for, that's 3 fingers pointing at you, 1 finger pointing at them. Okay, so why are you reacting to it? That's where you need to bring it in. To be fair, there's just such an intense energy going on that it's hard not to react at all. So after you have reacted, check yourself. Take responsibility, go back and apologise. Take responsibility for your behaviour. It's never okay for someone to project their anger onto another. It might feel good after, but then that person's got that anger and they need to go somewhere else and throw it onto someone else, and so it keeps going. If we want to make this world a better place in this supremely intense time, well, someone's got to make a difference and take responsibility for their own feelings, for their own behaviour. So, yeah, they're the things I've got to share. After the 21st of October, it'll be interesting. The astrologers are only going step by step. They're not going too far ahead because it's everything is detriment to what happens at that moment in time. Like if you look at the English currency right now, they're taking, I think it's the 20 and the £50 note out of currency, the paper ones, and changing them to those plastic ones, whatever. And so they're saying from a certain date, if you haven't taken all your notes into the bank and changed them into the new currency, then they're null and void. A bit like what India did a few years ago. And so for all those people that earn money under the counter, which is, unless you're highly intelligent or you get an inheritance or you slave your life to a job and just work the whole time, it's near impossible to get ahead in this life unless you do things under the counter. And so a lot of people have lived their lives and got ahead by living under the counter. And so all that money they've got, if they take it to the bank and want to change it for the new currency, then the bank says, "Oh, where'd you get this money from?" And straight away they're taxed on it, or whatever happens, a whole lot of problems come from it. And so once again, they can't get ahead. There's this continual pushing down of the lower and the lower middle class, and the continuous rising of the upper and the upper middle class, going on. So, I mean, one of my solutions that I theorise, I don't know how to do it yet, but once I do, I'll share it, is that we need to leave the whole slave trade. And the whole slave trade is based on the assumption that we don't live in abundance, that there is someone more responsible than us, and we need to seek their approval, their acceptance to be able to make any decisions or do anything in our life. I'm not quite sure how to leave that mentality yet, apart from affirmations. I live in abundance, I live in abundance. And working with our gifts rather than our detriments. But that's all well and good to say, but how to actually put it into action for the everyday person, I still haven't quite got. So, but I am working on it. I'll continue to work on it. All right. We might wrap this up. Let's just keep this short and sharp. And I want to show you where I am. Okay. This is Fisherman's Bay. It's just beautiful. You see that? Okay. All right. Ciao for now. Wait. Function.